Kim here, the Kiwi Health Detective, root cause and lifestyle medicine practitioner. And today I'm going to do a video about healing crises, how to navigate healing responses or healing crises. And in Qigong circles we also call these Qi reactions. So first of all, I'm going to tell you a story, and then hopefully I will share the importance of why I'm sharing that story. So yesterday I woke up in the morning and my back was incredibly sore. So this has been an ongoing issue for some years, which I've been working on and still have some healing to do. And occasionally I get symptoms. So yesterday when I woke up, it was very, very painful, my lower back. And every time I tried to stand, I felt like my whole pelvic girdle was going to buckle and I would just have to lie back down in bed. I couldn't even really sit either. And I spent the whole day like that. And it was very frustrating because I had things I wanted to do. It was a beautiful sunny day here in Queenstown. I needed to go out and run some errands. I wanted to take the dog for a walk. There was lots of things I wanted to do, but my body was clearly saying, no, not today. And by the afternoon, I thought, well, maybe if I take a painkiller, which I probably do once every 2 years, maybe that will help. But all that did was make me very groggy and send me to sleep. So I spent the rest of the afternoon in bed, and then I started to feel like I was just starting to come right at about 7 o'clock in the evening. And this morning I'm much better. So why did that happen? What I want to talk about is the natural healing cycle, which I've spoken about many times before, and I also have a masterclass on the healing response. But the healing cycle, or the natural healing response, is something that many people are unaware of because we've not been taught about it. I've only learnt about it through my professional trainings, and it totally changed my understanding of why sometimes we get symptoms. And please note that nothing I'm sharing today is medical advice. I'm not here to cure, treat or heal anyone, and if you have a health issue, please consult your medical practitioner of choice. So I'm not giving any medical advice here. I'm sharing personal experience, but also I'm sharing my professional experience and knowledge of what I've experienced for myself and many clients over the years. So back to the healing response. So our body has to go through what is called a natural healing cycle, which consists mainly of two core phases. One is a stress phase and one is a regeneration phase. And what most people don't know, and this includes doctors and even many natural health practitioners, is that when we are in the healing phase of this two-phase cycle, sometimes we can have symptoms. So in other words, even though our body is actually doing healing work, it's healing and completing a healing cycle, we can feel ill in that phase. Now, of course, if you don't know that, if you have no idea that that is the case, what will happen is if you have symptoms, you'll feel that something is wrong, that your body is ill or in some way, and you will think it's wrong and you will try and do something about it. But the interesting thing is, very often, if this is a healing crisis or a healing response, it's actually the body taking itself through the completion of a healing cycle. So how does that change things for you to know that sometimes when you have symptoms, your body is actually completing healing? Isn't that almost like an oxymoron, right? It sounds counterintuitive, but it's absolutely true. Now, there is a difference between having an ongoing illness, especially a long-term chronic illness, compared to having or experiencing a healing response. So the main thing to know about healing responses is that they are temporary and they will pass quickly. And a healing response could pass in as little as a few minutes to a few hours to maybe a day or so. If something is going on much, much longer than that, then we're talking illness. And that is another ball game. It's another kettle of fish. However, what is interesting to remember is that whenever we have symptoms, our body is in some way trying to instigate self-healing. And if our symptoms are continuing and going on and on and on, then for some reason it's not able to complete the healing. And very often the reason that it's not able to complete the healing is because a mental, emotional conflict theme associated with the physical symptoms has not been identified and resolved. So a lot of our physical symptoms, or even our energetic symptoms, in other words, something like tiredness, they have a lot to do with unresolved emotional conflict themes. But that's not what I'm going to be focusing on today. I'm just wanting to share this concept about a healing crisis or a healing response, which is temporary and is part of the natural healing completion that is going on. So then the question then that you might be asking is, well, why did that healing response or healing crisis happen? Well, normally it happens in response to some sort of healing that we have taken action on. So for me, there were a couple of things that were in play. A couple of days before, I'd had a craniosacral therapy session just to help balance my body. And what is amazing about craniosacral therapy is that it allows the body to go into its natural self-healing state and instigate the self-healing powers of the body. So that had happened 48 hours before, and there was no doubt afterwards, as I put all the pieces together, that the reason that I had the pain yesterday was because the body was completing some healing after that session 48 hours before. And before I forget to say, one of the really tricky things about being able to identify whether one is having a healing crisis or is in the healing response is that often it's not until we've come out the other side, we've completed that healing cycle, that we know for sure. We can ask ourselves when we're having the symptoms, could this be a healing crisis? Could this be a healing response? It's always worth asking that question, and then asking yourself, what have I been doing in the past day or two that might have triggered this healing cycle to complete, that has triggered this healing response. But I've lost my train of thought there for a moment. Yeah, so often it's not until we come through the other side that we'll know for absolute sure, but it is a really important question to ask oneself when one's got the symptoms, could this be a healing crisis? Because if you think it might be, then rather than going into all the worry and the stress and the fretting and the worst case scenario thinking and the fear around, oh my God, I've got symptoms, something is really bad, something is really wrong. Instead of thinking like that, which is not how we should think anyway whenever we get any symptoms, but instead of going down that track, which is very common for the mind, including me still, I can still get caught up in those thoughts, we can say to ourselves, okay, so if this might be a healing crisis, or if we definitely know that it is a healing response, we go, great, this is really uncomfortable right now, but my body has this incredible intelligence and wisdom inside, and it is doing exactly what it needs to do to become more healthy. And this is where the element of trust comes in. So this is another big missing piece in terms of healing in general in our society. We have not been brought up with the conventional medical system to trust that our body is a self-healing machine and it can heal itself. So if you ask yourself, how much do I trust that my body can heal? What is the answer? And then ask yourself, how much do I unconditionally trust and have faith that my body can heal? What is the answer? And if the answer is not yes to, yes, I believe my body can heal without any doubts whatsoever, then there is still work to be done on building that trust. So there are several factors that are needed for self-healing. One of them is the trust. One of them is to understand how the body actually works, what creates illness, what discreates illness. And that is a lot of what I do in my work. And when I work with clients, I teach them all of this so that they can rely less and less on external interventions such as medication or supplements or fancy technology or surgery. I absolutely know that our body can heal from anything. That doesn't mean that we're all necessarily going to be able to do it, because there are certain factors that need to be in play in order for that to happen. And the more we understand how our body works, the more we're likely to be able to instigate those self-healing processes. So I think really I've said what I mainly wanted to say and share, which is sometimes when we have excruciating symptoms, our body is actually taking itself through the completion cycle of a healing cycle. And if we know this information and we can consider that that is a possibility, then that will really help us. Of course, if we have really serious symptoms that we're very concerned about, then we need to seek the right help, and that may mean going to a doctor, going to a hospital. But I'll give you another example of a healing crisis that I had some years ago, which if I hadn't known what I'd known, I would have called a doctor or gone to a hospital. But because I held it as a possibility, I was willing to hold it as a possibility for 24 hours that it was a healing crisis. I came through it, and indeed it was a healing response. So many years ago I went to have an iron infusion because I used to have low iron. And so when you have an iron infusion, you have quite a huge influx of iron all at once, or over a period of say 30 minutes. And of course this is quite something for the body to assimilate. All of a sudden it has a whole heap of extra iron just pumped into the system, and it's trying to deal with it. So I was fine on the day of having the iron infusion, and I went to bed that night, and when I woke up in the morning, I felt like I was dying. I felt so sick. I had a very high temperature. I was vomiting, and when I wasn't vomiting, I could hardly move my head off my pillow. I was seriously, seriously sick. So I asked myself, okay, could this be a healing response after this iron infusion yesterday? And it was quite clear that it might be. So I chose, and other people may not choose to do this, but I chose to give it 24 hours. And then if I wasn't feeling any better by the next day, then I would have taken myself off maybe to get some external help. So I lay in bed that day feeling absolutely horrendous. So sick. But I knew that my body was trying to deal with this influx of iron. I went to sleep that night. I woke up the next morning literally as if nothing had happened. It's like the past 24 hours never happened. My body had done what it needed to do to restore homeostasis. It had done what it needed to do to assimilate this influx of iron, and I felt absolutely fine. So there's another example of a healing crisis, and I could give many, many more, both from personal experience and also clients that I've worked with. So I hope this is useful information to percolate, to contemplate, and next time you go for a massage, for example, and you feel really tired afterwards, maybe you even feel a bit nauseous, just remind yourself, okay, I've just had a massage and my lymph has been moved around my body, toxins have been stirred up and they're trying to exit my system, and the reason I feel tired is because my body is telling me to slow down and rest so it can complete the healing cycle. And this, by the way, is often something people don't do. Like, I didn't want to be lying flat on my back yesterday. I wanted to be out doing stuff. But my body, which is far more intelligent than my mind, was saying, no, you need to rest, because this is my body talking. I'm doing some healing work on you and I need all your energy to do this. So you're not going out. You're going to stay in bed all day. And it's very common, for example, for people to go for a massage and then immediately rush off back to work, and that negates all the healing that happened during the massage. So, excuse me, next time you have done some healing work, please give yourself time after your session for integration. And ideally, well, depending on what the healing is, you know, a couple of hours, but maybe it even could be a couple of days. So I hope this has been helpful. I love sharing useful information. I'm the Kiwi Health Detective, root cause and lifestyle medicine practitioner.